Am I selling Rashford? Am I selling Maddison? Who am I replacing them with? I think that's probably a question you've been asking yourself a lot. Stick with me and I'll take you through what I'm planning to do with my team. All right then, this is the boring stuff because it's not really changing. We're going to start off with the goalkeepers and defenders. At the moment, I'm starting with Kepa in goal versus Brighton. I do have Raya on the bench, who's got Wolves. So, yeah, it's a 50-50 call really on who to start in goal. I've got Kepa at the moment, but that could quite easily change to Raya if I get a sense either way, really. Trippier, Zinchenko, Chilwell, locked in my opinion, as my back three. Trippier, one of the top defenders for expected points this week, along with Zinchenko. I think both of them have got a semi-reasonable chance of a clean sheet, and obviously they both play in quite advanced positions for their clubs, so are likely to get some attacking returns as well. And likewise for Chilwell, I'm not sure Chelsea are keeping a clean sheet against Brighton. I do think there's some saves potential for Kepa, which is why I've mainly started him. And then for Chilwell, just the way he plays in that Chelsea system, he's one of their most attacking players, so he's always got a chance of an attacking return in every game, and that's why he's in my starting 11. Okay, so on to the midfielders now. I've gone for Saka, March, Mitoma, Kane, Watkins and Haaland. And you'll notice there that Maddison is currently greyed out. I've got Rashford as well, but he's going to sit on my bench, I think, for game week 31, unless we get any news to suggest that he's out long term. My thinking is he blanks in 32, and I've got March, who would be my 12th man. So I'm quite happy to just bench him for a couple of weeks if that's the extent of his injury. Certainly through game weeks 31 and 33, and I'm free hitting in 32, by the way. But I think I'd be happy just to ride with Rashford on the bench and use my transfers to actually improve my starting 11. Whereas Maddison, I think, is the player on the chopping block this week. And just based on his performance, and I've got some interesting analysis on it, I'm looking at bringing in Martinelli. Obviously, another replacement potential looking at this is Odegaard as well. And I've got a couple of segments later on that will compare the two players. So starting off with Odegaard, I think the reason you'll go for Odegaard over someone like Martinelli is the fact that you're just expecting him to be rotated at some point. I think that left-hand side of the Arsenal attack, it's got two players in that position that I don't think Trossard is quite as good as Martinelli, but, they'd be pushing each other to start. Whereas Odegaard, he's Arsenal's club captain, the outstanding player in that sort of number 10 position. And it doesn't really have any competition. And then when you look at the underlying numbers as well, as I showed in a previous video, 0.57 expected returns per 90 is exactly the same as Martinelli. I'll quickly go back to Odegaard. So they've both got pretty much, identical underlying numbers. So there really isn't much to split them. So why not potentially go for the one that's most likely to start? One thing that might put you off, the Man City and Chelsea fixtures in 33 and 34, and obviously the simple fact that Arsenal do not double in 34, whereas the likes of Man United and Man City do. For me, I know a lot of people are thinking of bringing in Jack Grealish, which I can respect. I can see, the upside of Leicester in 31 and then a double game week in 34. But I don't really like Man City midfielders. Certainly for the Leicester at home fixture, is he going to play? Is Grealish going to play that fixture? He's played at the weekend. He's got Bayern Munich midweek, and then there's Leicester at home at the weekend. I just don't see him starting. So for that reason, I'd rather go for a player that's only in the Premier League now, Arsenal, and go for someone like Odegaard or Martinelli, who you can pretty much back to start most games. And then on to Martinelli. So for me, he is slightly preferred to Odegaard, in my opinion. I know there's not much between it in terms of underlying numbers, but he's the top scorer midfielder in FPL now, and there's just no way I can ignore it. And I always have a feeling in a game that Martinelli just gets more involved in actually scoring goals than Odegaard does. Odegaard's always the second to last, the pass to the assist or the assist rather than, the final touch to score. I think Martinelli's ability to run in behind and run at pace as well really helps give Arsenal an outball. For me, I think he is my preferred option over Odegaard, purely because I'm also trying to make up rank as well. I'm trying to increase my rank, whereas maybe if I was trying to hold on and happy with my position and consolidate, I might go for Odegaard, who's a bit more secure. And interestingly as well, I was suggesting Odegaard might be more secure. We obviously, none of us are in Arteta's brain, but Martinelli stayed on the pitch versus Liverpool, whilst Gabriel Jesus and Odegaard were subbed for other players. So, Martinelli was the man that played 90 minutes out of the well, other than Saka, out of the rest of the attack. So an interesting one there. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on Martinelli, really. I think I'm going to go for him purely because I believe he's got slightly more upside than Odegaard does. And some interesting analysis that I found on Twitter, and thank you to FPL Bernie. I've made sure to include his Twitter @ and his profile picture in this, so to give him full credit. He noticed, and it's a very fair observation, that Martinelli was getting much more involved in the game than Odegaard and Saka were, particularly in the Liverpool game, comparing to when Saliba was in the team for the Fulham game, which was Saliba's last game. Basically, Rob Holding coming into Saliba's place in that defence, it doesn't really give the ball to Ben White very much, and that almost completely nullifies the right-hand side of that Arsenal attack. As you can see on the left, that's the passing lanes that Arsenal had against Liverpool. Holding's passes were either made to Gabriel or Zinchenko on the whole, whereas when Saliba's in the team, he's passing either side quite equally. And that means, obviously, the right-hand side gets more into the game. Interestingly, Odegaard gets more into the game, and Saka does too. So, whilst there's no Saliba in the team, that probably makes Martinelli an even better option because, as you can see in the Liverpool game, he got far more of the ball than the rest of the Arsenal attackers did. I think that might also, you've got to take this with a little bit of pinch of salt, in my opinion. I'm not berating FPL Bernie at all. This is fantastic analysis and really useful, which is why I'm sharing it with you. I do think that they would have, obviously, a team is going to target Liverpool's right-hand side at the moment. You know, the quality of defenders they've got at left-back and right-back are completely different. Like, Robertson is a very competent defender and, you know, can do a job on anyone. But Trent, I think he gets mugged by most wingers in the league, to be honest. So just knowing Martinelli's pace and his attributes match up perfectly to, you know, breaking Trent, I think that's also another thing to consider. But yeah, looking at no Saliba in the team, it looks like Martinelli is getting a lot more of the ball than Odegaard and Saka. And this is the full team, just a recount of what I've gone through, basically. My bench consists of Raya, Rashford, Estupinian and Botman. Raya, he's on my bench at the moment, but looking at the expected points, there's a complete coin flip, in my opinion, as to who to start between him and Kepa. One minute I'm thinking I like Kepa because of saves potential and the fact that they're at home. The next minute I'm liking Raya because Wolves are not the best attacking team in the league and he's one of the best goalkeepers in the game. So it's really tricky for me to weigh up who to start. Knowing full well whatever I do, I will get it wrong. Rashford, as I mentioned, is on my bench at the moment. We'll wait until we get some press conference news out of Ten Hag this week. I think his presser will probably be on, I think, Thursday or Friday. I don't actually know, but the pressers are usually Thursday and Friday. We'll see what he says about Rashford. I know Rashford had a scan on Sunday, but we've not heard anything coming out of that scan. I don't think he'll be out long term. The simple fact that he managed to walk off of the pitch under his own steam, you know, it's probably a tweaked groin rather than a completely torn one. So yeah, that's, in my opinion, those sorts of injuries, 3 to 4 weeks. And I think in the nicest way possible for Rashford, he'll be rushed back into that team because of how important he's been. So, you know, looking at the 3 fixtures he's got, Forest, a blank in Tottenham, I could feasibly bench him for that because I've got Solly March, who I'd be happy to play. And then I'm free hitting in 32 to get rid of him anyway. So, yeah, I think I might just stick Rashford on my bench for a few weeks, or, you know, we might change that depending on injury news. Estupinian and Botman, I don't think they can quite make it into my team this week. I don't think they're better options than the players that I've gone for. So, yeah, that's how I'm lining up at the moment. And then the all-important captaincy decision, although this week I think it's pretty easy, depending on, of course, how Haaland gets on against Bayern Munich. If he comes out of that game injury-free, I think he'll play against Leicester at home. And in my opinion, Leicester are literally the 20th best team in the league at the moment. They're the bottom-tier team. I know they've just appointed Dean Smith, which I'm not entirely sure about myself. I've nothing against Dean Smith as a man, but I don't agree with, I don't back his ability as a manager to keep Leicester up. And I don't back his ability to give them a bounce to beat Man City this week. So, yeah, Haaland is top for expected points. As you'd expect, he's top pretty much every week. And he's going to be my captain against Leicester. De Bruyne in second, Harry Kane in third. I'd probably ignore Rashford. I don't think, despite how miraculously he might recover from this injury, I don't think he's going to be fit to play that game. And then rounded off by Grealish, Mahrez, Son, Martinelli, Salah, Fernandes and Saka in terms of the top players for expected points. But really, I think there's only one man you can captain this week. And that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed my thoughts and my insights and that little bit of tactical analysis on the Arsenal lineup, please leave a like rating on the video and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. I'd absolutely love to have you on board for the long run. And if you agree or disagree with any of the moves I'm considering or, you know, my thoughts on Jack Grealish might not necessarily being nailed and stuff like that, please let me know in the comments. You know, FPL is all about different opinions. If we all had the same opinion, we'd all have the same team, even though we've got quite similar teams at the moment, I'd imagine. Yeah. See you in the next video.